Normally, I don't do video recordings on the weekends, but I got this tip from Madhouse Retro Gaming. He's a subscriber and a friend. He told me about it in one of the Discord servers we both frequent, and it explains some things going on with Steam right now. But before I do talk about that, I wanted to give some context to why this came about. Some of y'all may recall, or if you don't know, back in April 2024, Ubisoft deleted the crew from players' libraries, as this article from Engadget uh, told us, reminding us that we own nothing. Goes on to explain that some of the users felt like this move was theft, as they had purchased the game with their own money, receiving no warning from Ubisoft, would be deleting the license. Uh, people didn't take kindly to this, and Ubisoft saying that gamers will become comfortable with not owning their games. This is probably foreshadowing to what's happening to Ubisoft right now with Assassin's Creed Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws, and their drop in stock prices, which you can see in a video card up in the corner of the screen right now. To a video I covered, giving a condensed version of the events that happened in the past week or so. Yeah, they even said that gamers are getting comfortable with not owning their own games. They're saying that they can take away the game at any time, which would be more profitable for them, but also that they can, if they don't like the way you're playing it or you don't do what they think you should do with their game, it's kind of like they reserve the right to remove the license. Now, most gamers feel like they're buying digital content, so they feel like they own the game. And this was a big controversy that people were asking about, like, what's going to happen next? No matter how you shake it, this is basically corporate greed, is what it is. It's not fair market practice, it's not consumer interests. It's corporations trying to nickel and dime their customer base for corporate greed. Think of it like the subscriptions. You know, you buy a season pass, something like that, and you might be able to have access to a certain amount of games per month, and you play those games. Let's say it's seven. It starts off at $7 a month, and then they raise the prices up to $10 a month. And while yeah, you might be playing the game for a reduced price, you know, we've seen games where they make it harder to play the game within a month. They drag the content out to make you play it longer, so you have to play it longer. And the game isn't fully functional yet, or there's a lot of bugs in the system. So not only are you paying for a game that's made of poor, shoddy craftsmanship, but now you can't complete the game within enough time frame to play another game. So that game that you bought thinking you're paying a tenth of the price ends up being 3 times as much by the end of the year, when it would have been a lot cheaper just to buy 3 physical copies. In this case, you're paying for a digital copy for the same price as a physical copy, but you're not buying a game. You're buying a license, is what they're saying. You're being licensed to play the product on a certain platform or server. It's basically like they said, you will own nothing and be happy. It's like I said, shout out to Madhouse Retro who told me about it. According to California's new law, California Governor Gavin Newsom has signed a law, AB 2426, to combat disappearing purchases of digital games, movies, music, and ebooks. The legislation will force digital storefronts to tell customers they're just getting a license to use the digital media rather than suggesting they actually own it. When the law comes into effect next year, it will ban digital storefronts from using terms like buy or purchase unless they inform customers they are not getting unrestricted access to whatever they're buying. Storefronts will have to tell customers they're getting a license that can be revoked, as well as provide a list of all restrictions that come along with it. Companies that break the rule could be fined for false advertising. The new law won't apply to stores that offer permanent online downloads and comes as a direct response to companies like PlayStation and Ubisoft. In April, Ubisoft started deleting the crew from players' accounts after shutting down servers for online only games. And last year, Sony said it would remove purchased Discovery content from users' PlayStation libraries before walking back to Move. As retailers continue to pivot away from selling physical media, the need for consumer protections on the purchase of digital media has become increasingly more important. California Assembly member Jacques Irwin, and I hope I said your name right, said in a press release, I thank the governor for signing AB 2426. ensuring the false and deceptive advertising from sellers of the digital media incorrectly telling customers they own their purchases becomes things of the past. Forcing storefronts to disclose that they're selling licenses won't stop them from taking away digital purposes, but at least make more people aware that they are buying and can be taken away at any time. And while this is actually true, Steam has actually gone around and made an adjustment to their end servers licenses, which we'll cover in a second. Before we cover what Steam has done, I want to cover AB 2426. The actual title of AB 2426 is Consumer Protection False Advertising Digital Goods. The summary states the existing law makes it unlawful for any person doing business in California and advertising to consumers in California to make any false or misleading advertising claims. Existing law makes a person who violates specified false advertising provisions liable for a civil penalty as specified and provides that a person who violates those false advertising provisions is guilty of a misdemeanor. This bill would subject to specified exemptions, additionally prohibit a seller of a digital good from advertising or offering for sale a digital good as defined to a purchaser within the terms buys, purchase, or other term which is reasonable person would understand to confer an unrestricted ownership interest in a digital good or alongside an option for a time limited rental unless the seller receives at the time of each transaction an affirmative acknowledgement from the purchaser or the seller provides to the consumer before executing each transaction a clear and consensuous statement as specified. By expanding the scope of a crime, this bill would impose a state mandated local program. The California Constitution required the state to reimburse local agencies and school districts for certain costs mandated by the state. Statutory provisions establish procedures for making that reimbursement. This bill would provide no reimbursement that is required by this act for a specified reason. This bill came about this year. To elaborate, it was introduced in February of this year, and it was amended March of this year, and it went to the Senate in June, and then amended in August, and then it was introduced and signed within under a month as of September 24th of this year. I do want to go over the laws really quickly. Some parts here. Digital good means individualized work, digital audio, digital book, digital code, or digital application game. Whether it is digitally delivered, accessed, digital good does not include cable service, television, satellite relay, television service, or any other distribution. It shall be unlawful for a seller of a digital good to advertise or offer sale of digital good to a purchaser with the terms buy, purchase, or other reasonable person would understand to confer an unrestricted ownership interest in the digital good alongside the option for a time. That purchaser is receiving a license to access the digital good, a complete list of restriction conditions of the license, that access to the digital good must be normally revoked by the seller if they no longer hold the right to the digital product if applicable. The seller provides to the consumer before executing each transaction a clear consensus statement that does both stop states in plain language that buying or purchasing digital good is a license. Any affirmative knowledge that the purchase or clear consumption statement pursuant to paragraph 1 shall be distinct and separate from any other terms. This section does not apply to the following: any subscription based service that advertises or offers sales access to digital goods solely for the duration, I guess, of the time period. With the usual idiocracy of California, I often joke that California is a third world state. But this, I'm actually surprised, as it is not protecting corporate interests, but rather consumer interests in recognizing property rights. This is actually bad news for digital platforms like Valve, Steam, Epic Games, Xbox Store, PlayStation Store, Nintendo Marketplace, like Amazon Video, YouTube Video, you name it, and it's a digital product. This is bad news for them. And likely, Steam actually goes ahead and decides to do a self interest user update for their subscriber agreement, as we will cover here. I want you to notice here in its Steam subscriber update agreement, they only changed one section, section 10, to require all claims and disputes to proceed in court and not in apparition. Please carefully review the update Steam subscriber agreement here, which they know. We're just going to click I agree to the update Steam agreement and accept updated SSA button.
All right. Good. Looks good, guys. Great work.
And naturally, with us wanting to hurry up and play our games after a long day of work or homework, personal life responsibilities, we would be none the wiser at what we're signing for the simple reason that we didn't go and read the terms of service, or in this case, the SSA, which is more beneficial for them, and they could have done certain things like this following scene.
Fine, you don't want to be part of this? Then just sign right here. No, you didn't read it!
We can laugh all we want, but South Park's Human Centipede episode is very prophetic in this context. Corporations will do anything, as seen here, where Disney stated that they are not responsible for a wrongful death lawsuit because the widow agreed to the terms of service on Disney Plus. When we read the Steam subscriber agreement, as seen here, we can see that there's 11 chapters. And we go to the applicable law jurisdiction. It states that most user concerns can be resolved by our Steam support site. If Valve is unable to resolve your concerns and the dispute remains between you and Valve, this section explains how the parties have agreed to resolve it. For all subscribers outside European Union's United Kingdom, you and Valve agreed that this agreement shall be deemed to have been made and executed in the state of Washington, USA, and Washington law, excluding conflict of laws principles and the on Contracts for the International Sale of Goods, governs at disputes and claims arising or relating to any aspect of the relationship between us, this agreement, or your use of Steam, your account, or the content and services. You and Valve agree that all dispute and claims between you and Valve, including any dispute or claim that arose between the existence of this or any prior agreement, shall be commenced and maintained exclusively in any state or federal court located in King County, Washington State, having subject matter jurisdiction. You and Valve hereby consent to the exclusive jurisdiction of such courts and waive any objections as to personal jurisdiction or venue in such courts. If the laws where you live mandate alternative dispute resolution options, you may seek remedy under those options. If you are a consumer who lives in Russia, you may also seek a remedy with local Russian state courts. I won't go further into the EU and UK subscribers. If you're in the European Union or UK, you can pause the video to read this because I had this blown up for you. But for those who do not, um, yeah, this basically means that you will have to submit your complaints under Washington law, regardless if you live in that state or not. Well, why Washington State of all areas? And most importantly, why King County? Well, would you believe if I told you this gives them an advantage? Not only are they a multi-million dollar company who has a team of lawyers and their own legal department, unlike you, well, they are also in Bellevue, Washington, which is in King County of Washington State. I want to stress that I am not doxing Valve Corporation. This is all public information that can be easily Googled, and I do not encourage harassing anybody mentioned or showcased in this video. My point is to show an grievance to a corporation from its consumers. And my hope is to help you, myself, and other consumers figure out how we can solve this problem. But that's the real problem, isn't it? How do we solve this problem? Most people will probably say, well, we don't care. Or won't, and most people also don't care what gamers think, as we've already know. We've had to fight this quote unquote culture war since 2014, 10 years by ourselves, warning people that was coming into their spaces as well, only to be ignored. And now our beloved games are destroyed, franchises and IPs ruined as they seek their sights on foreign IPs that we also enjoy. We've seen the increased microtransactions, and all we see when it comes to social media and corporations taking accountability is senators and congressmen just roasting them on TikTok and YouTube. Nothing gets done. And then those same companies brag about it. Well, there's a couple things we can do. First off, I understand that it's inconvenient to go and buy physical copies of games and media we enjoy. That used to be a bragging right for gamers. I remember there were magazines, and I believe it was Tips and Tricks that had something called the Room of Doom feature, where people showcase their game setups, their game collections, and their libraries of games, guidebooks, and the like. I encourage getting physical media whenever possible, but this will probably eventually go away. And for those of us who don't, we still have to do something, even though this will be an inconvenience. Some people have stated GOG.com. I do not know. Others issue a certain high seas location, which I will not say at the risk of getting my channel deplatformed. I do not condone the latter. I will say, however, the smart thing to do is write to your congressperson, write to your senator, write to your state representatives as well. Tell them about the California state law, tell them about the Steam end user agreement, and tell them that you believe that you should be entitled to your purchases. All had the right to the fruits of labor, gifts, or trade without force or coercion, so long as it doesn't violate the first two rights, which is the right to express yourself, followed by the right to live. This is in the Constitution, U.S. Constitution of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those are the recommendations I recommend, regardless of what side of the aisle you claim. I highly encourage the citizens and viewers in Washington state, however, to write petitions and rally their state representatives to pass a law so that it is favorable, similar to California. This would force Valve to stop again. And if every other state passes a law similar, and we make a federal law, Valve has no choice but to make those same acknowledgments. And in that clause, as it says in user license agreement, provide options for the user to file the grievance within their home state and make a penalty for false advertisement, a severe and harsh penalty at that. This would discourage such claims and perhaps maybe give us our rights back as digital products we own or purchase is our private property. But of course, that's just my suggestions and my opinions based on the rules of laws of my country and state. I do not claim to dictate your life or how you should live. And so, therefore, I'm asking you, viewer, for your thoughts. What do you think? How should we go about this? Because we all know we're going to click, most of us are going to click the end user license agreement just to play our games, only to realize the bitter truth is, according to Valve and Steam and all these other stores, we don't own them. We're just renting or leasing them. Put your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, happy gaming.